So welcome everyone to our second April is ASC month meeting. It is the 12th of April. Thank you for being here today. We are going to, first off, a couple things. We got some new folks on today. Well, not new, but new to the meeting. And one is Marie Zickler. Zickler, wave your hand there. Marie has been out for personal reasons, but she is back. She's the business development manager for the Northeast region, and we are very, very glad to have her back. The other is Claudine. Claudine, if you'll raise, shake your hand. She's the BDM for, I'd say we call it the Midwest, kind of the Midwest region. And so some of our schools are in that region too. So I invited her to be here today. We've got Clint Abrams. Clint is BDM now for Florida and is it Ohio? Ohio. Yeah. And someone told me that this sneaky rumor that you may have one time been a student of Tanet Privet. And so she said that was funny to see that you were presenting today. I spent the Sunday and Monday at the Carolina Cyber Convention for down there at Forsyth with them. So we are going to, let's see, first off, I'm gonna share my screen here for a second so I can kind of give us some information. So that's me, and I've got my crazy hat on. Tim maybe hopefully will be put his on here in a minute. Like I said, if not, we're disappointed again. But Clint is here. Michael Bowden. Michael, you're in here somewhere. Raise your hand, turn your mic on, say hello. Rich,
hey, how everyone doing?
Yeah, where's your mic? Where might go? Talk. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Hey,
Okay.
Hey, how you doing?
And then a little bit later today, we'll have Rich Weeks, Brian Crump, and one of Rich's coworkers who will be discussing the portal project. So today our schedule is as follows: welcome introductions, and then I'm going to turn it over to Clint. Clint, you got 30 minutes. If you don't use it all, that's fine. If you use all of it, that's fine. If you need more, that's fine too. But then we're going to move into Michael. And Michael's going to talk about the ASC procedures and billing to kind of give you an overview again of how our contract process works, what you need to do on your end, what to expect to see from us, and associated with our ASC contracting process and yearly process. The other thing is I would also like to know, I know this is not something we've done in the past, but I've had a couple of requests for multi-year contracts. If that would be something folks would be interested in, obviously you would pay multi-year, but if you say you want to sign a contract with us for 2 years and then pay for 2 years, that's the only problem with that is we don't currently do that, and it's a little hard to track our budget when I do that. But just if that's an idea you want to throw around, we can start throwing it around a little bit. We'll have a short update on the Python project with North Carolina and a couple little items that have come up dealing with it that I've actually kind of gone over when at the NCCIA, but if you weren't there, I wanted to make sure it made it into this format. And then we'll have a good overview of the Academic Cloud project, the portal, and how you can use it, especially your instructors can use it for their own use for free in their classrooms. Now, I do want to correct something that I want to make sure everyone is aware of, and that is this. Last week, I mentioned that we have, we've got a couple schools that we're sharing Netlab's access with, and we got a couple that are paying us for it and some that are not. Do not think for a moment. I said, if you could pay something. If you can't, if you need Netlab's access for a class, contact us, okay? Don't think that if you don't have money to pay, we're not going to give you access to it. We're going to try to help as many people as we can, and y'all know we do that. We're just kind of putting the feelers out there to see if it come down to, hey, my school said we won't pay your support fee for your data center. You need to find a way to find that money, a way to help augment that budget. But if you need access to our Netlabs, let us know and we'll do what we can to help you. And also if you need help with any of the other vendor programs, to reach out to us, because we've got a couple folks who've actually reached out about some Red Hat Academy issues, dealing with some things that have happened there. So just be aware of that and to give you that quick update. Anybody have any questions from last week's meeting before we get going? I'm gonna take this hat off because it's hot. Any questions about last week's meeting and any information that you would like to Okay, if not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first stop sharing. And then Michael, I'll make you a co-host. I'm going to make Clint a co-host so you can share your screen, Clint. And I'll make Brian a co-host so that he can eventually do it. Hey, Richard, you snuck in on me. Yep, good to see you. And let's see, anybody else I need to make a co-host? Eventually I may get, and this is awesome. What do we got here? How many we got?
Rich Weeks and Spencer will need access, but they're not here yet.
Yeah, they're not here. Okay. I'm just trying to see how many people we got in the, actually in the meeting. We got a good number here. That's excellent. Very good. All right. So Clint, you are free to take it away and share your screen if you want to and go from there.
Okay.
By the way, Clint is, it wouldn't be a bad idea to also share a little bit about your story, because like I said, I know, I think we said some about it. I heard some of it in the HBCU meeting the other day, but it's neat to hear that you're a product of the Academy, which is really good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, the funny part about me coming into this role with the Network Academy is I'm actually a student of the Network Academy. Like you said, a student of the Net down at Fayetteville Technical Community College back in 2010. I went into the class the very first night not knowing anything about networking. This instructor was talking about subnet masks and routing protocols, and I'm in the back scared out of my mind, not knowing what he's talking about. And the instructor even told me, he's like, I'm worried for you. He's like, you got a lot of courses going on. You're a full-time student. You're a full-time employee. I was working at Fort Bragg, and excuse me. I was genuinely about to quit the class. I went home and talked to my wife, and I was like, no, you can't. We need money from GI Bill and things like that. So I stuck it out. So by the time I was done with the fourth CCNA class at the time, I was placing in net writers competitions. I'd won a slot on Cisco Live Dream Team in 2012. I head out to San Diego for Dream Team, and while I'm sitting there at the Dream Team, I actually signed my offer letter of employment with Cisco Wireless Tech. So to say the Cisco Network Academy curriculum is second to none, and it's got my full support, and I've been jumping up and down on soapboxes for the past 10 years talking about this curriculum. Let me get through this sharing. Are you guys able to see my screen yet? I don't think so.
Not yet, Clint.
And I'd like to just interject for a minute. As Kelly said, I was out on medical leave for the past 10 weeks. I cover Virginia and Maryland and all the states north of Maryland. So Clint was kind enough to cover for me while I was out. And I literally just came back yesterday. So he's doing his due diligence to share some updates with you relative to some data in the state of Maryland and Virginia. And I'm most appreciative of that.
We definitely are. Claudine, you have anything you want to add about your area?
I'm just saying that you also work with a lot of the Missouri, Kansas, some of those areas. So I felt it was important. I can't stay on the whole call, but I wanted to at least come on and say hi to everyone, and some of the ones are maybe in my territory. So thank you. And thanks for all the opportunities for the CCNA one. I know that the Midwest has taken advantage, and hopefully we'll see them go through it. Thank you.
Too. We've only got 3 slots left, by the way, folks, out of the 100 slots that are available. So there's 3 slots available in those free 100 CCNA slots. So we need to fill those up. And remember, those free slots are available to full-time instructors. They're available to your part-time instructors. They're available to adjuncts. So.
Kelly, can you make me a co-host again? I had to drop real quick to change the settings.
Gotcha. Oh, now you are co-host.
Very good.
I should let you. There we go. Excellent. We got you.
Okay. All right. So like you said, I'm kind of filling in a tiny little bit for Marie. So she's going to be picking in for, I'm missing some holes from some of this information. Kelly, I talked to you the other day. You said you're primarily interested in Virginia and Maryland. So those are going to be the things we talk about today. There you go. All right. So you guys have probably seen this slide repeatedly. You know about the numbers of students that we've got currently enrolled, 435,000 students that are certification ready coming out of these programs. 15% of our students are female. The big thing that we want to talk about throughout the United States and Canada is over $917 million in in-kind contributions. Some of our key partnerships: Civil Air Patrol, state CTE directors, Department of Labor, registered apprenticeship programs. I'm not sure how much you guys have heard about these registered apprenticeship programs yet, but this is an up and coming program that we're trying to work with. We've got a couple of different partners that we're working with. Currently, there are 3 different job roles that have been approved through the U.S. government, Department of Labor, and there are multiple states that are accepting these programs as well. So, excuse me, we're trying to transfer that stigma of blue collar workers are the ones that go to apprenticeships, electricians, construction workers, plumbers, and bring that into more of an IT field so that these students can go and get instruction from you guys at the academies and the academy sports centers without racking up large amounts of student debt from like a 4-year university. So the registered apprenticeship programs is one of the things we're quite proud of, and we can't wait to see what comes out of it. So let's jump in and start talking about Maryland. Maryland in-kind contributions over $20 million, 125 instructors in the state of Maryland, and over 20% are female, which is amazing already because you're above the national average with that. Here's a list of our academies that we have in the state of Maryland currently. So let's get into it and start talking about some of the high-level numbers currently, and this is based on calendar year to date from last year versus this year, FY21 versus 22. So out of 73 academies, we actually had 35 academies that took a loss to roles by some number of student participants that dropped in that state. There were 8 academies that did not have any participation last fiscal year that did have participation this year for an increase of 119 students. We've seen growth in cybersecurity, networking essentials, and Internet of Things classes, which is great because some of these, especially things like cybersecurity, it's an amazing field. It's growing, and it's one of the job areas that we're focusing strongly on. In a 3-year trend from FY20 to 21-22 shows an average of over 400 students added each year in April, which would bring this calculation to over 4,000 student participants versus the 3,500 that we're seeing now. One thing I would like to point out is kudos to Montgomery College for being our top performer and adding 128 new students to their program, bringing their count up to 433 students for this year. We do see a slight drop right now, but again, we're hoping that these numbers added in April is going to bring this back up to where it needs to be. Marie, before I jump, did you have anything on that?
Sure. Clint happened to mention this National Apprenticeship Outreach Program, and I've been working collaboratively with Kelly's counterpart, the Camden Dream Center, which is an academy support center and an instructor training center as well. And they happen to be based in Camden, New Jersey, and they recognize the fact that many of the academies that they support in underserved communities need opportunities for careers. So Keith Davis, who's my contact, reached out to the U.S. Department of Labor and applied for the Cisco Networking Academy program to be a registered apprenticeship program nationwide. And he was granted approval such that he could be what's known as an intermediary. So let me share with you that our mutual goal is to support both secondary and post-secondary academies in the United States by giving you folks the opportunity to apply to this registered apprenticeship program. And as I mentioned, Keith is an intermediary, and an intermediary status means that the Camden Dream Center is going to be, again, the intermediary between academies and employers. And what he will do is he will identify employers in each state for students who meet the criteria for this U.S. Department of Labor Apprenticeship Program. Now, as an ASC and an ITC, I'd like to clarify that his job is not to support academies because he has many of his own, and his job is not to train the instructors from other ASCs or ITCs. He's simply working with folks like Kelly to identify academies in the area that Kelly supports to see if they would like to be part of this apprenticeship program. Now, I've been gone for 10 weeks, so I only knew that there were 2 tracks that have been approved, one being the network technician track. And the criteria is that the students have to go through the CCNA program and be ready to sit for their CCNA certification. The second track is the cybersecurity technician track that includes a compendium of many of our IT courses like Intro to Cyber, Cybersecurity Essentials, but the most important one, similar to CCNA, is Cyber Ops. And the goal is obviously to have the students achieve the industry certification. And then the Camden Dream Center's unique capacity will be in attracting employers that will connect with students such that they need the respective talent. And in the state of Maryland, where we were just giving some high-level overviews, we're working with the Maryland Department of Labor to adopt this program in collaboration with the Maryland State Department of Ed. So think about the fact that Clint is going to put up a slide that shows all the academies in the state of Maryland. So any of these high schools, as well as post-secondaries, whether they be community colleges or four-year universities, can apply to be part of this apprenticeship program. And what it will do is it will give the students the opportunity who are going through CCNA and Cyber Ops to have an apprenticeship opportunity. And the ultimate goal is they will be hired full-time by the organization that Keith connects them with. So really, this is a fantastic program, and we'll make sure that you get some slides in the deck such that you can contact Keith accordingly to become part of this very exciting program. So if anybody has any questions about that program, I'm here to answer them. And Clint, you mentioned that there's 3 tracks. Did I miss something? Did something new take place while I was away during those 10 weeks?
No, I think it's like network help desk, and I think it's IT help desk and network technician are kind of, they're like very similar, but there is a slight distinction between the two. So no, not really. You got it.
Okay.
There was a question in the chat, and it was, is this related to the Learn and Earn Apprenticeship Program LEAP in North Carolina?
No, not at all.
Okay, no.
This is a U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeship program, and it's one of the first in the field of IT. Like Clint said, we're all familiar with the other apprenticeship programs, whether it be in, electrical or plumbing or automotive. But Keith took the initiative to go and represent the Cisco Networking Academy program and get it approved on a national level. So this is very exciting. Now, I haven't had a chance to speak to Keith in 10 weeks, and we have a call tomorrow, so I can hear from him which companies he's actually attracted to sign up to this program such that he can match them with students around the country. So this
Part of the other thing that goes along with the schools signing on to become intermediaries is you guys have a direct connection with your communities and the employers within the communities, especially through some of the schools have job placement offices. You guys have a much more direct rapport with those employers in your community. So imagine, instead of just Camden Dream Center trying to find employers throughout the country, every academy is also linked into this, trying to find employment.
Yeah, and the thing that I would recommend is that if you do have employers in your geographic area and you'd like your students to be part of a national apprenticeship program, have a conversation with Keith. We've connected him to so many academies and partners, meaning channel partners. And tomorrow I'll be just curious to see, who has signed up. So just to give you one example, Red River happens to be a channel partner that's located in the Washington, D.C. area, but they have corporate headquarters in New Hampshire, Texas, California, and soon to be in Chicago. They have signed up to be one of the employers such that they can hire students from those various states that I talked about, especially if they have a CCNA or a cyber ops industry certification. So that's just one example.
Very
And
good.
for those academies, we talked about those that joined the program. We thank you very much for your support and we look forward to working with you. For those who have had limited enrollment, we'd like to understand why. And if there's ways that we can help you market the program more effectively, please feel free to reach out to Clint and I respectively.
Absolutely. All right. Unless there's any other questions about Maryland, let's move on and jump to Virginia. Virginia with $25 million in in-kind contributions. One thing that I'd like to point out here is 92% of the students who took Cisco certification courses either got a job or improved their employment within their current employer. So they got a better job from where they're at. So like I was talking about at the beginning of my introduction, this curriculum works. And again, jumping on my soapbox, so I'll jump off. And here's our list of academies throughout the state of Virginia. Similar numbers to what we saw in Maryland. There's 55 academies in Virginia. We did see a little bit of a drop in student participation, only about 131 students across the state. However, we did have 8 new academies that did not teach last year for an actual gain of 191 students. So that net, it actually netted us an additional 60 students across the state. We're seeing some growth in the IT essentials and networking essentials classes. We do see a good bit in cybersecurity here as well, about 150 new students enrolled in the cybersecurity course. So I wanted to specifically call that out instead of just throwing it in mention on the slide. In terms of student numbers, not percentages, I'd like to throw a shout out here to Liberty University for increasing their program from 241 students last year to 342 students this year. So as far as direct numbers and not just a percentage difference in class, they had the highest growth of everybody.
They've also, Clint, an aside there too, they got 14 new instructors who will be taking CCNA 1 as part of the adjuncts and others who will be taken as part of this project this summer. So we hope to really grow that number even further next year.
I was just about to say that's amazing. If they've got 14 more instructors, then yeah, I would imagine that number is going to almost double maybe the next year. Throw a challenge out for Liberty University, double those numbers, right? Last but not least, 3-year trend shows approximately 500 students added each year. So this calculation for FY 2022 should be about 3,000 by the end of April, which would push this metric differential up pretty good. We'd like to see by the end of the month here.
That's great data.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
I
okay.
really appreciate that.
No problem. April the 28th this year is International Girls in ICT Day. We have 3 excellent guest speakers that are going to be presenting information that, the Girls in ICT Day is an amazing program. It's pushing these numbers up with student participants, employer equity, with equality.
Brianna, you're active. I'm actually.
Sorry.
We're good. I'm muted, David. Sorry, David.
It's all good. There is a link. I can provide a link in the chat if you guys are interested in registering for the Girls in ICT Day. Rebecca, was there anything you wanted to add about?
Virginia?
No, about Girls in ICT Day before we move along.
For those of you who haven't participated, it's really a wonderful opportunity for both females as well as males to hear from inspirational, innovative young leaders on how they're using IT to create solutions to global problems. So it works really nicely. I'd also like to make you all apprised of the fact that we have a meeting with the new Secretary of Administration for Virginia and her Deputy Secretary of Cybersecurity. And they're extremely interested in learning more about the Cisco Networking Academy program and how we could all collaborate together, especially in the area of cyber. So anybody who's on the call today from Virginia, if you would like me to profile your academy for the new secretary, as well as her deputy secretary, please reach out to me. Kelly will put my email in the chat, or I can do it. And we'd love to profile your academy to these folks, because why not give them the opportunity to see successful implementations?
Kelly, a good school, well, I'd say a county would be the Virginia Beach City Schools. They were phenomenal.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Who is this, the county?
Virginia Beach City Schools,
Oh, yes, sure. Yes,
they are awesome. So
yes, absolutely. Thank you. And that's really all I have at this point. We do have quite a few new HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities in Virginia. And I know last year when I presented, I shared with you some information about Hampden University. We now have Virginia State University. We have Norfolk University that's implementing the program. And there's probably others, but I need to go into my database to see that type of information. But we're excited that they're participating with us as well.
Okay, thank you, Marie. And last but not least, I know there's been some questions around Skills for All implementation, with the direct to learner type courses. It is in the books for, well, I'm sorry, it has already been created where NetAcad instructors can create their own Skills for All instructor-led, so to speak, courses. Creating the courses is almost exactly identical to creating the NetAcad courses. Excuse me, but it gives other instructors the ability to add these courses in as supplemental portions of other courses. Let's say, for example, I don't know, let's just say you have a business class that has a section, a module within their course focusing on network security or device security. Some of these Skills for All classes can be added as a one module within the course, as some extra credit work throughout the course, things like that. So I like to look at Skills for All as a supplement to the Networking Academy course. My favorite term for it is the gateway drug for NetAcad courses. If students are not, if they're not sure what they want to do with their career, if they're exploring something in IT, cybersecurity, the Skills for All is an excellent first step for them to get their feet wet, to see if this is something that they want to do. That's really all I have. Kelly, I'll turn it back over to you, unless Marie had anything else she'd like to add.
Nothing at this point. Thank you, Clint, very much for covering for me.
No problem.
Okay, now what I've done, folks, is put into chat. One of the things is, don't forget, when you're using that Skills for All that Clint was mentioning, have your students create a netacad.com account first, and then let them log into Skills for All. Don't do it the other way. Otherwise, they end up with two accounts, and you don't want that. You don't want a Skills for All and a NetAcad account. The other thing is, when you're using those classes on Skills for All, make sure you create it under your academy so that you can see the metrics will go under your academy. So we get credit for that, because the more we grow our individual academies, the more they'll see that it's important that that part of the academy program continues to be supported. So that's a good thing to know there. So
Kelly, could I ask for clarification? Because I'm trying to catch up on this as well. So what you're saying is that if an instructor would like to open up a Skills for All course, like the cybersecurity track, they direct their students to go to Skills for All and sign up as a user using their existing NetAcad account?
First thing they need to do is that student needs to go to netacad.com.
Yeah.
And either they need to create themselves an account on netacad.com, or you and your academy need to create themselves an account.
Meaning the instructor can
The
create.
instructor will create them an account, correct? Because if you go in here and do this, you'll see you can log in either with your Skills for All password, a Google password, or NetAccount. You've got to have an existing NetAccount account, because if you do sign up,
Right.
okay, so if you go back here and do sign up, well, it may not let me do it now that I'm already logged in. Let me
It's
try
going to
again.
create a second account.
Yeah, if you do this, if you go into, well, poop, hold on, that's being recorded, but that's all right. That's the least of my language issues. Okay, for skillsforall.com, if you click, you go here and you go, you want to log in. So we're going to go in here and log in. So we'll go to the login. If you click sign up, it creates a Skills for All account.
Okay.
It does not create a NetAccount account. So you need your NetAccount account already created before you go here.
Okay.
Then once they're in, though, the neat thing is you as an instructor can change your role up here in the right-hand corner from a learner to instructor. So I could go and create a class under Stanley Community College, switch role, and now I can create classes and my students can use those classes. Now, one thing I will tell all of you as BDMs, we need a way to delete these classes. Right now,
You're absolutely correct.
we can't get rid of them. That is a major issue, because we're going to end
Meaning
up with,
after people have gone through the class in its entirety, it stays on your
yeah,
screen.
and once the class hours are over, this class is staying here. I mean, this class ended on February 28th and I can't get rid of it. There's no way for me to delete it, no way to anything. It's just a dead class sitting here doing nothing. But the good news is you can create those classes and then you can use them in your academies and you get credit for those. So I actually went over that last week's meeting. So
Okay.
went through
Great.
it, but they need to create that NetAccount account before they go to Skills for All and log in. Otherwise, you're going to end up with 2 accounts and that's a disaster.
And Kelly, this is Clayton, and one more point I wanted to point out is the Python PCAP that just came out for the 30 hours. So that's pretty attractive too.
Yeah, there's a new, it's basically the first 4, I believe it's the first 4 modules of Python are now in Skills for All. So Python Essentials 1, and they will eventually put the other ones in there. So that could be used. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get to my Python presentation here in a minute. But yeah, that was recently just added. Okay, any other questions from anyone about Skills for All? All righty, let's we shall now move to Michael. And Michael, I need to make you a co-host. I haven't already done so. I think I did, but let me
I think I am.
Yep, you are. All right, so you can share your screen and take it away. So everyone, this is Michael, so we'll let Michael take over. And Michael, like I said, give a quick overview of who you are and
Okay.
a little background.
Okay. So my name is Michael Bowden. I'm a Cisco Academy support specialist and also an instructor here at Stanley Community College, coming up on my 2nd year. And a little background about me, I like to tell people that in my IT career, I've kind of made a full circle. So in 2006, I worked at a mill that made car carpet. They shut down and they offered to pay for me to go to school. And I had to go to school for something that North Carolina would approve me for that I could get a job in after graduating. So back then, I didn't know too much about computers besides tearing up my own computers. I came over here to Stanley, even though I stay in another county that had it, I stay in a different county, but I came over to Stanley. Back then, the only thing I knew was programming. So I try to sign up for programming. State of North Carolina wouldn't approve me for it at the time because they said I would have to go out of state to get a good job for it. So on my way out, I was lucky enough to run into, he's my boss now, Kelly Cotter. So he stopped me on the way out, showed me the Cisco networking equipment. Asked me that I want to learn how to program the networking equipment. Then I told him I didn't think I could. He asked me if I knew how to burn a CD. I said, yep. He said, well, you can learn how to program these. So I went and signed up for the networking class, started it. And like I said, Kelly has been a big help for me. He even, when I went to graduate, He even helped us to take our CCNA exam. I failed it the first time, and he made a way for us to take it again. I passed it that second time, and little did I know that was my turning point pretty much in my life, because what happened was after that, I didn't realize the value of it because I was young at the time. And then pretty much a couple years later, I got hired on at a healthcare facility, a hospital in the Pinehurst area. I worked down there for 10 years, ranging from operations positions to help desk, then to desktop, then to network technician for my last 2 years I was there. And then beginning of COVID, I wasn't really looking to switch jobs, but the instructor job for here at Stanley came up and it struck my curiosity. So here I am today. So I became full circle. So, but I'd like to thank Kelly for making that possible. He was one of the reasons I wanted to come back and teach it, just because I wanted to give students the same opportunity he gave me by at least taking that test. Because at the time, to be honest, if he wouldn't have made a way for me to take it, I don't think I would have been able to put forth the money myself to take it. And knowing that if I failed, I just lost my money. So he made that possible for me and made me kind of appreciate it more. So I thank you for that, Kelly. I don't know if I've told you, I've probably told you plenty of times, but I thank you for that. This is just a
You know,
little bit.
he never did give me that 10% of his income per year that he promised me if I paid for it. So I need to talk to him about that. No, I'm just
Now,
kidding.
Michael, I know our job performances and hopefully pay raises are coming up, but my God, you laid it thick on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. And so far, everything's been good here. I feel like a second home. So, so let me share my screen here. So what I have today is I have a document that I have created that goes through our, can everyone see my screen of the document?
Yes, we can see it. Yes.
Okay, cool. So this kind of goes through the process of our support and our billing process. And what I plan on doing is kind of going through this document. And also this document will be available that we will email out to help any schools that are going to get ready to go through this process. So the first step is to navigate to our website. So I'm just going to pull it up here. So at our website, you're going to navigate to the future students. Under future students, you're going to select our ASC/ITC. Once you get there, you're going to go to our Academy Support Center. At the Academy Support Center, you have the contract link. So this link here shows the link to our current contract. So this is the contract for the colleges that's renewing for the year. And also it's the same contract for any new academies that's looking to have us as their ASC. So the contract here goes through where you will enter your academy name, and also you will put in your academy's mailing address and have the authorized representative sign here. Then you would email it back to me. And what I would do, I would have Kelly to sign do his part. Then I would email you back a signed copy for your records. Therefore, that you would have both the physical copy also. And also when going through our agreement here, you have some of the terms, the general terms. One of the big one is the fees. It shows that we charge $300 per individual secondary academy, $600 per school district up to 6 academy sites, with an additional $100 for each additional academy site, and $600 per post-secondary academy. And also you have the other agreements that any obligations and also any kind of training that we also provide also. So once you determine that you agree to it, like I said, you fill it out, email it to me, then I will email you back Kelly's a signed copy. Then once that's done, our business office will invoice you for payment. And as you see here, the effective date starts on July the 1st of 2022. So if you join now, we generally don't charge from now till July. So the debt invoice will just be taken care of in July. And then also, like I said, if you're a new academy, so if you're already affiliated with us, that's just the process of renewing it. But if you're a new academy, you would go through this same process, except for you would need to also go to your Cisco NetAcad website. And this would be the main contact for your academy. They would need to go log into their Cisco NetAcad account, go to the Managing tab. And once they're at the Managing tab, they will have, mine shows a little different because of my role that I have, but you will make sure that you have your academy listed here, where you see the option to switch your academy. You have your academy listed here, and then you will have the option to select your ASC relationship, which you have an option here in the details page. And for your academy relationship, once you select it, then you will be able to go down and find Stanley Community College to request us to be your ASC. Once that request is submitted, Kelly will get a notification on his end that you have requested it. And once he approves it, then that process is completed, that you are now supported by us here at Stanley. And then I think that's about all. Am I missing anything? I don't think I am.
I don't think you are. The quick question, folks, when does the contract end? It starts July 1st, 2022. What's the end date for our contract? Anybody remember? June 30th. David's on there. Excellent. Yep, David, that is correct. June 30th of the following year. So this is the contract. If you'll go back to the contract there, Michael, the affiliation agreement there, just that tab, just a second one over. Yeah. This is everyone who is currently in academy with us needs to fill this out yearly. And by the way, your information goes on the right side, our information goes on the left. That's why our address is already there. So you put in your mailing address on the right and your signatures on the right there. But all of you have to do this every year. We sign this contract, and that's so that you have the option, if you want to kick us to the curb, you can do so. So we hope that we're doing a good job for you. I do want to give everyone a huge thanks, because we just went to 227 Cisco academies in 17 states. That we support. So it is a great honor to be supporting that many schools across the entire academy program. So we're really glad to do that. Are there any questions about our process? Now, one thing I do know Michael didn't mention, but we always mention is this: you are invoiced in July, but most of you, in fact, some of you are not even on your campuses in July because you're 9-month employees or 9.5-month employees. So we know that we're probably not going to get paid until October or so. Our official date that we start barking very loud is in October. And our business office technically tells me I have to turn off your academy on October 30th. If we're in the process of working with you, we don't. But there have been a couple academies that did get turned off, and typically, even if you do get quote turned off, it doesn't immediately occur. It just says you've got 30 days to fix this. And Jeremiah is asking, is the authorized representative the primary net academy manager here or the dean of the department? Jer, it is whoever can sign contracts at your school. Yes, and you would do post-secondary for your academy. You'd be the $600 post-secondary. By the way, that's any community college, university, or college is post-secondary for us. Yeah, so it's the whoever can sign. I have special permission from the college to sign these contracts as part of the Academy Support Center and to sign contracts for the ASC. Many schools, well, some schools, this goes all the way to the president's office. Some it goes to the department head, some it goes to the chief academic. It just depends. For every school, it's different. So any other questions on the billing process or items about that? All righty, excellent. Michael, I'll let you stop sharing, then I'll take back over here. And folks, I'm going to do a quick update on, this is very similar to what I did back during the NCCIA, but I want to do a quick update on the program essentials in Python as it relates to the state of North Carolina and NCDPI. The second year Python class in the state of North Carolina for almost every high school now is the Cisco Academy Programming Essentials in Python class. We have also used as part of that class for the time it's been in existence, the introduction to IoT as part of that class to give a little more hands-on and a little more real-world experience. Unfortunately, that IoT 2.0 is going away inside of NetAcad. There is a new introduction to the Internet of Things on skillsforall.com, and I just showed you how to create that class on Skills for All, and it's also available in last week's recording from our ASC meeting. But that's going to be the replacement. The bad news is the new Internet of Things class doesn't use the equipment that we had before. Now, honestly, if you want to continue to use it, just print the labs out that are part of that IoT 2.0 class before June 2022, and you can continue to use those labs in the class as much as you want. We also know that many of you, since this new class uses almost exclusively the Packet Tracer IoT features, many of you have students who have Chromebooks. If you're at a high school, we have Packet Tracer pods that we will give you access to on our system, competitions.stanley.edu. And these pods are literally just pods that have a little Linux box on them that has Packet Tracer on it, and it has the ability to get to netacad.com, and that's it. It can't go to anywhere else. And so your students can log into netacad.com, they can do their Packet Tracer labs, and then they can upload those labs into NetAcad for you or take screenshots and send it to you, however you want to do. But we share this with many schools throughout the United States, and some of them aren't even supported by us. Some of these schools are up in the Maryland region, and we shared it with them during COVID, and we're still sharing with them. So, Michael, how many schools we got? Probably in the 30 to 40 range that are using these, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Last I counted is around about, I want to say about mid 40 somewhere.
Yeah. The good news is you don't have to load Packet Tracer locally. The other good news is you don't have to worry about Chromebooks, so the Chromebook issue goes away. Right now, this pod is a PT 8.1, I believe, right, Michael? We don't have 8.1.1 pods yet. As soon as they update the pods to 8.1.1, we'll update those pods. Okay. So if you're interested in using these for your students, especially like I said, if you're at a high school, contact Michael and let him know, and he will do his best to get you involved in that. The new class, Introduction to IoT and Digital Transformation. Oops, I spelled transformation. Oops. That's what those 2 English degrees are useless for me. On Skills for All, does not require a virtual machine. It does not require any real equipment. It uses the Packet Tracer IoT capabilities, but it has been refreshed. So there's some newer content in it. And you can easily use the NetAcad login that's used for your Python Program Essentials in Python to log into Skills for All and use that content. So that is what I suggest for the fall for any of the high schools using this content. Move over to the Introduction to IoT and Digital Transformation on Skills for All. Last but not least, I did want to mention again, don't forget that as actually part of this project, we found a major issue of being able to take students not being able to take the exams at a VIEW testing center because they didn't have IDs and didn't have the ability to get there. So OpenEDG came up with a way for you to actually be able to give the PCEP, PCAP, JSE, which is that new JavaScript Essentials class that has just been released, the C++ classes, or C+ and C++ exams in your local classroom. So you can apply for your school to become a testing center, and then you as the instructor will be able to give those exams to your students in your classroom. So they won't have to travel anywhere, and you won't have to have a Pearson VIEW login and all those things. I also have a way for you to buy vouchers, which are 100% voucher cost of the voucher through OpenEDG, contact me and I'll send it to you. It makes it about the same. Well, it is the same cost pretty much as with the discount. Questions about the programming essentials and this little update that's going on with the programming essentials class? Any ideas? There's some chats here. Let me see my chats, what we got. Okay, somebody's heading to another meeting. No problem. We will definitely do that. We'll make that happen. Okay. Okay, Marie Ziegler, yeah, and I put Marie's information up earlier too, so that's very good. All right, well, folks, we are now ready to turn it over to Brian and Rich and NDG. Did Rich show up?
Yeah, he's there.
All right, have you made him a co-host?
Have not, but I will.
Okay, make him a co-host and make everyone else in the group that needs to be a co-host. Brian, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Where do you
I'm
do
gonna
that?
pause my camera a minute and I gotta step out of office. Just 1 second.
Oh, now I'm making my co-host.
So, yep, it's all you. Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I ain't never
Just
done
right
it.
click on him and make him co-host.
I don't have those permissions.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. Rich, you're a co-host, and who else do we need to be? Spencer. Spencer is a co-host, so you can all three share your screens now.
All right, so hi everyone, I'm Brian Crump. If you've not met me, I'm one of Kelly's cohorts, work with Kelly, Michael, Brandon, with the team. I'm the program head of IT network management, along with the lead PI for our current NSF project, which we're showing you today. I know Tim, Harry, some of you have already seen this, but we're adding on a little bit about the LTI integration. Along with me talking about this, got Rich Weeks and Spencer. I don't know your last name, Spencer, and I apologize. They'll be doing speaking at about, I think, around slide 10. So just kind of go over this. One of the biggest challenges of getting students to go from a 2-year to 4-year degree is just finding that university that really wants to work with a community college. And through partnerships and through meetings with Rich and NDG, we were very fortunate to meet Jorge Crescenza, I think that's how you say his name, from the University of South Carolina. Working with Jorge and Rich, we were able to apply for an NSF grant, which allowed us to create, well, Rich had the initial items going, but allow us to fund the creation of the portal project, as we sometimes call it. And it has allowed us to use NDG as the main platform, but really create that front end page for easy signing. Just like everyone, we all have Netlabs. Most of us have Netlabs, our own Netlab system, but this is kind of I'd say the Netlabs on steroids. It opens up a lot of courses. There are courses that are free that instructors can use now to teach in their classes, and there's some of the courses which Rich will go over for some of the paid content. Basically, it'd be like a textbook. So by doing this, it's opened up a world of opportunities for us to be part of this, and then it's hopefully down the road we're able to apply for another NSF grant or an NSA grant to start partnering with more community colleges in the state of North Carolina and even South Carolina, or universities. So we can expand this out to any school that needs access, and then any school that wants to partner with us that can provide resources to the portal itself. The background for this, really it started out with to get 2 universities, 2 community colleges, 2 high schools, and NDG to partner with this actual project. It's gone a lot further than that. It went quickly. We started this is the end of our 3rd year, but during the first year, the first 6 months, it was easy to buy equipment then, and we were able to buy servers, get servers allocated to the project. We were up and running, I think, around January of the 1st year. And we turned the floodgates on, let all the Linux traffic come through, anything that schools needed. And it really jumped up because of COVID, unfortunately happened, but we were able to share out all of our resources. Any school that needed it for COVID or for not COVID, didn't have an online option. This allowed us a quicker way to get those schools, those instructors, the students access to hands-on learning, which is very beneficial for future jobs. So kind of the goals of the project, really to enhance the capability, the capacity of hands-on education. That hands-on opportunity it went through the roof. I can say it like that. Anyone that has taken any of the courses through here, it's so easy now to get involved with it and using it, that students no longer, especially with Chromebooks in high schoolers especially, not having admin rights to install software, things like that. This bypassed that step. So high schools could easily take advantage of. Community colleges, we've shared out to a lot of community colleges. And the university, USC is using it, UNCW, UNC Wilmington was part of it. And then the second part of the project, or the goal, was to really develop a scalable virtual platform. For us, anyone who's managing their own Netlab system at this time, you're pretty much the manager. You give access to who you're going to give access to. But really, unless you're just really nice and want to share access, most of the time it's just for your school. Well, this way, and because of the NSF grant and funding we were able to get, we were not only sharing access to North and South Carolina, we were sharing it to any school in the US that wanted access, they could have. So if you got access to an HTML web browser, you've got access to the portal, and it's we've had a lot of very positive comments about it. Some of the new courses that were developed, and this was Jorge at University of South Carolina, were some high-speed network courses, which Kelly shared that info for some of the presentations he's done. The material for the IT domains, it's the stackable credentials from high school to community college to university. And what I've noticed, and I don't know if Kelly or Rich would have the same thought process, but what I've noticed with the university, if a university is teaching the Cisco curriculum for one, that means they're very hands-on. And USC is doing that, ECU, UNC Wilmington, those universities are really hands-on and getting students involved with not only packet tracer, but not with real gear. They just have a really good mindset of preparing students for the next chapter in their life, whether it's a job or moving on to their master's or even doctorate. Let's see, the internship program, I've covered the other two items. The internship program, USC was very responsive with that. I think at one time they had 100 of their interns placed in positions throughout their area, which met the criteria of the NSF grant by leaps and bounds. The project potential. Originally, it was just scheduled to be in the Carolinas, University of South Carolina, North Carolina and South Carolina. We were projecting 100,000 students and the involvement of military. So during that time, we projected 100,000 students throughout the 3 years, and then roughly 43,000 soldiers at Fort Jackson. We've bypassed those numbers. I think we've had like 120-something thousand unique visitors, just unique instances for the portal just this past year. So we know the portal works. We know if we get individuals or partners that are willing to really give resources, provide resources, and have it sustainable, meaning that even after this NSF project ends, we know we got to look for grant funding, and we know we need to keep expanding it. But we're at Stanley, we're not getting rid of it. Rich has those servers that are there. Those are for the portal. So they're not going away. We've allocated an entire rack just for the portal project, and we have a lot more room. We could add more servers, need be, if we can get the funding to buy additional servers. This talks about the first year outcomes. Like I said, we were, I think in January, the first year, we were up 24/7. We're ready to go. Starting getting students involved with it. And during that first year, and really the first 6 months, over 7,000 students had used it, and with 23 faculty members. Well, this is kind of on top of the portal project, but Kelly made an executive decision that yes, we were going to have the portal project for COVID to use whatever we needed, but we were also going to share our Netlab systems that we manage on outside of the portal with OLL, which I use for curriculum. We shared OLL4, we shared all of our Netlabs, the real Cisco gear, we shared competitions. Any school that needed it, we helped as much as we could. And a lot of schools were not ready for moving completely online. And I could say Kelly's decision really benefited a lot of individuals. Kind of the outline of the way the distributed cloud works is we have the different locations. We have USC, we have SCC or Stanley, and then NDG. Well, NDG had, and Rich will go over this. Rich and Spencer will go over this, but they're the managers of the entire project. We just host the equipment, and then it has internet access, and it's available 24/7, or as long as we have internet at the school. Some of the platforms, again, we used it for the SANS Institute, Girls Go Cyber, Fort Gordon's used it. We've had a lot of high schools, universities, and community colleges use this. And this goes back to the main goal of it is, one, to prove that we could do it, which we did, prove that it could be scalable, which we have Rich and his team, Stanley and USC, we've proved that concept. So moving forward, our plans are to keep growing. Rapid elasticity measurements, on-demand, self-service, resource pooling. Rich and Spencer will go over this, but kind of the backbone of how we have it at Stanley and USC does is we put the equipment in, we got it up and running, got the correct ESXi VMware product installed, and then work with our IT department to allow the pass-through for that portal traffic to get to the equipment from NDG or whoever was managing it from wherever. So we were able to give them storage, RAM, CPU, and then once that equipment was added to the portal, Rich and them could create whatever they needed to suffice the needs of their the wants of the many students and the instructor itself. So we've proven it. We could expand it. We have a lot of measuring capabilities. Just if all of us have a Netlab system to some extent, and if you don't, we can look at the number of instructors. We can look at the number of students. We can even break it down to the number of hours a student logs in, how long they spend in the class. So we have all that. The on-demand self-service, this, and Rich will go into detail, or I think Spencer will go into detail to show you the portal itself, how to sign up, and how easy it is to get involved with it and utilize it. And then the resource pooling. That goes back to, yeah, we have 3 sites, Stanley, USC, NDG, but if USC is maxed out on capability or capacity, and they're still needing access, or another school still needing access, well, Stanley's sitting in the wayside ready to go. So it's an amazing product, and I give my kudos to Rich and his team, and Stanley and USC, Kelly and USC. Outside of that, I'm gonna turn it over to Rich for a few minutes, and then Spencer, and then I'll take over after that.
Thanks, Brian, for all the work you did and for your work with Dr. Krashenko to get the grant. That was very helpful for us to do this proof of concept to show we could do this. So I think most of you on this call, and many of you I know obviously on a first name basis have been at events and workshops with you. But for those of you that are new to us, what we're trying to do the last 20 years is help learners get a job, enough skills so they get to that first job. We started this with Cisco, and they asked us to build a lab solution that could be hosted at a university or community college and then share equipment resources. And then VMware asked us if we could help them solve the same problem, and then it just mushroomed and it got bigger and bigger, sometimes bigger than us. In other words, there's so much content, sometimes we're struggling to sustain because we know you often don't have the budgets, even though some of the stuff is really complex to teach and you need more funding. So one of the challenges we ran up against was there's just funding in the system, plenty of it, but it doesn't always get down to the student in the classroom or the instructor to help that student. So we were trying to solve that problem when we started this project. And we knew from years of helping schools that Netlab, when a school got Netlab, if the instructor really understood virtualization and VMware, they could build custom labs. And we also knew that we had hundreds of Netlab systems in the US alone, and we have many international, that it was very popular because of the hands-on, because if you teach a lot of content, but the student doesn't get repetitive hands-on, they could be a paper tiger and it's tougher to get a job. So we were asking the hypothesis, could we build a cloud where we treated Netlab systems like a data center? You move back 15, 20 years ago, you might call this grid computing, but it's a cloud. We're using somebody else's compute resources. We're aggregating the compute resources. And under the NSF grant that Kelly, Brian, and Dr. Krashenko at USC were able to get, we're able to do a proof of concept. And now we have servers that are sitting in the data center at Stanley Community College, servers sitting at a data center on campus at University of South Carolina, servers we put in Iraq, and then we could also work with industry partners. So what we found is it's really hard to get industry partners to do it in an aggregated horizontal sharing content of other partners. Everybody's very siloed, and we see schools do this too, where it's about your organization or your company or your school, and we understand why this happens, but that makes it hard to create a cloud, and that's why this was very unique opportunity under this grant. And NDG did some work during the pandemic with Idaho National Lab, where we helped them do training for industrial control system for the Department of Homeland Security. And they were kind enough to come along and help us add servers in their data center in Idaho. So now we have enough servers to do a proof of concept, as Brian shared. And I think Kelly messaged that we were also able to enable some of the Docker container, like the Linux VMs we do with Cisco, just to see what would happen if we turn that valve on and really put a lot of traffic down into this cloud. And it worked flawlessly. Now, we were using our online environment that we did for the Linux courses, and we've been able to expand. And over the last 5 years now, we've proven that we can work with academic institutions if they're willing to work with each other to create an academic cloud. So the proof of concepts worked. And as Brian shared, it was perfect during the pandemic because there were a lot of organizations that were stressed. A lot of our industry partners were stressed. A lot of schools were stressed. They weren't ready for online. And we had the experience, and Stanley had the experience working with Dr. Krashenko. We were able to run a lot of workshops and things that were canceled during the pandemic using this academic cloud concept. And now we've got it where it can run the same things that you might be doing on a Netlab. Now, this is not the solution for everything. Let me point out, though we can do it technically, we have to make sure we have the software rights for anything that we host in this cloud. But what I hope everybody might be excited about is the fact that we're showing how if academia is willing to do it in one or more states, preferably across the nation, academic institutions can group the technology together and run their own cloud and then run multiple services off that cloud. Now, to make sure that it fit what academia needed, we actually did tools to integrate with industry partners LMSs like Cisco Network Academy. This was pretty easy to do for us because we were used to working with Cisco and other partners to do LMS to LTI from their LMS. But what we added was the ability to do the school's learning management system. And this was actually a royal headache. This is hard, not because the technology is not there. We can do LTI to allow you to use your own LMS. This is hard because every school has unique rules. You know, how strict they've locked down their LMS, what the instructor can do and can't do, who's the keeper of the keys for the authentication. When you work with industry, we can work right away with a developer who might have authority to even customize the LMS. When we go work with a school, the instructor sometimes is frustrated with their own administration. So even though we can give them LTI keys, and Spencer's going to show you how you can set this up on your LMS, you know, you're dependent sometimes on whoever has the administrative rights on your LMS. But with that said, we've got this working with Canvas, Moodle, Blackboard, many other offerings. And you can go from your LMS through LTI, and then you can access this academic cloud, NDG online portal. It's really the same technology that's enabling it. It's just when we refer to the academic cloud, we're working with those government resources and Stanley and USC. So the servers are hosted by academia for academia to be like a regional hub. And then we can expand, and you can do things like help veteran programs. I just sent out 20 codes to U.S. veterans that are leaving the military and they're looking for job opportunity, and we're able to give them that access to those resources. So there's all kinds of cool projects, as Brian highlighted, that this has enabled over the last 3 years, and we continue to do. USC has put in that they're going to do the support for this. They're going to extend the grant for another year, and they plan to leave it in place for workshops, others, and they're going to pursue other research grants, including high-speed network research using it. And then Kelly and Brian have shared that their administration plans on supporting it too. Now, the end result is to the instructor or learners that need access, they just get resources. Now, obviously, we have to sustain this. So we're looking to charge a fee if it's not already covered within the grant. And hopefully we can keep those fees very reasonable, you know, like bookstore prices minus 30%. Now, I'm not a big fan of the bookstore sometimes because their markup is like, you know, 200%. But in most cases, we're trying to do things for $20, $30, $40. Sometimes something's really heavy like vSphere, it eats up a lot of compute resources. And if you do that, you just won't have enough servers spread across the schools. But that's the whole concept. Now, I've asked my peer, my coworker, to come in to kind of demo some of this. He manages the user experience, and he can show you how you can get the demo access, because any of these labs will offer to you as instructors. Just go trial them and use them and see if they'll help your students. And Spencer can show you those items. But before I go to that, you guys may have some questions for me. So why don't I pause and see if anybody has questions about how we did this technology and what we're deploying. Any questions? All right, just a question on a quick feedback. Do you all like the concept? Anybody out there like what we're trying to pull off?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Folks, you can come off mute by clicking your the bottom left-hand corner. And David, I muted you. I will unmute you. Like I said, I muted you because I think you had somebody come in your office, and I just muted you. There is a question that says, not sure if setup is the issue. Is there a way for users to reset their own passwords in NDG?
Yeah, and in NDG Online, we have control of not only a centralized database, but a way to message back to the learner. The problem with trying to do that with Netlab Plus is we know how to write the software and the code, the message back to the learner, but there's no clean way to have a gateway back, like an email gateway or et cetera. But in this case, we're in control. So we can do that, and we can basically set it up so they can authenticate themselves. And we even have two-factor authentication implemented. And by the way, there's a new appliance coming up for Netlab that's designed for all the government rules, and it'll have things like two-factor, et cetera, in it. I don't know if they figure out a way to make it easy to do password reset, but I'll check on that for you, because That's one of the things that drives us crazy over the years. And when we did implement it as a test and a beta, we found that schools were so different that it was just really hard to create an automated tool.
I do want to make a quick comment since you mentioned multi-factor authentication, folks. It's wonderful, but we had someone turn on multi-factor authentication with their Neticut account and then their phone broke and they had no other way to get into the system until they got their phone replaced. So be very careful with multi-factor authentication. It's wonderful, but it's got its issues too. Okay. Any other comments for Rich? There's a couple love the concepts in the chat.
Oh, that's great. What my ultimate hope is if we, like a group of us, let's say 20 schools from North Carolina and 10 from Idaho and 5 in the Beltway, you know, we could build enough interest, maybe we could convince the federal government that the community colleges really need resources from these government labs and some of these hands-on things. And we could use this academic cloud and we could get them to fund it in a way that's totally free. Now, I doubt that would happen. And the reason I don't think that would happen is sustainability is usually a big deal. Once the federal government usually will fund things through grants, but they want you to figure out a sustainability model that'll sustain it. And that's where I see it challenging, because often schools want to build under their own brand, even within the same state. And that makes it very hard in the company kind of role we're in to create aggregated value and lower the cost. But that's one of the challenges. All right, with that shared, Spencer, do you want to show everybody how they can get access to this and actually trial some of the labs?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen here.
Thanks, Spence.
All right, so I know Brian and Rich talked about our products a little bit and talked about the NDG Online Portal. I'm going to specifically talk about the teaching tools within the NDG Online Portal and some of the features we offer, some of the benefits from joining that program. So again, I think Rich brought up some of the demo stuff. You do get demo access to all the courses, all the labs, everything that we offer. Once you're registered in our system, it's all free to you. There's no additional setup, anything like that. You can create classes. You can integrate the classes into your LMS if you want to. You can see learner outcomes, things like that. So I'm going to go over the process a little bit and touch on some specific pages and links. There's some helpful links that I'll share out at the end if anyone's interested in pursuing this. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Getting Started guide. This covers everything that's included in the process in the teach tools, what you'll get access to. It covers the requirements to use these tools, and then it covers signing up for access to these tools. So it's a pretty straightforward process, but if you do run into any problems, this document also covers getting help, who to contact if you run into any issues, things like that. Then the last thing that's covered on this document is next steps. It'll talk about how to create classes and how to set up classes and integrate them with your LMS. So once you actually have access to our system and you do have this Teach tab, you'll be able to create classes, manage the classes, see the classes that you've already created, and then demo courses. So again, if you click on that, that'll bring you to a page of our entire course catalog. You'll get access to everything. And any of these, again, no additional setup, nothing like that. You can just click and you'll be able to see any of the labs, launch anything you want to test out right away. After that, you can, for creating classes, it'll be kind of the same user interface. You'll be able to see our whole catalog, what's available to you. Once you've picked something, you can drill down on it to see more information about it. You can see the different labs, a little description of it. And then once you're actually ready to create a class, we've got 2 options. So by clicking Get Started, that'll show you the 2 options. You can either integrate it, create it with your LMS, or you can choose to just use the NDG Online Portal hosted by us. I'll start with that option. It's as easy as clicking it and then either creating a new class or choosing from one of your classes that you've already created. You just give it a name, a description, and those will be visible to your learners, and then save it. So after you create that class, it will create a unique class to you and with a unique enrollment URL. And all you'll do is save this URL and hand it out to your learners. And that'll ensure that they enroll into your class that you created. The other option is to use it with your LMS. Now, the only thing that's required for LMS integration is to be able to add external tools or LTI apps. If you have that ability, you can go ahead and get started. If you don't have that ability, this is something we run into, depending on your LMS administrator, how tight they locked it down, like Rich was talking about. You can reach out to us. We'll work directly with them, or we'll find a solution way around it. And there's also, if you run into any problems, you can always use our help form right here to get any assistance. But if you do have the ability to add the apps, then you just click whatever your LMS is, and we will provide a common cartridge file right here for you, as well as a consumer and secret key. And then there's step-by-step kind of walk you through how to integrate it with your LMS. And again, sometimes your LMS is going to look a little different or have a custom design. So if you ever run into any issues, we'd be happy to meet up with you to walk you through everything. After you've got some classes created, this tab is the My Classes, shows everything that you have set up, and you can drill down into these a little bit farther to see learners that are enrolled in your classes, what kind of completion they've done, general estimates of how much time that they've spent in the labs and when they were last in it. You can even drill down to see things like your learners can take screenshots inside of their labs if you want them to show proof that they've completed a certain step or anything like that. They can take a screenshot, it will submit right to you through our system, and you can view it in here as well as any notes they might have added to it. So that covers kind of some of the benefits and features of the Teach tools within that LMS or within the portal here. And then you get this out of the way. Sorry. All right. And then the last thing I want to cover is just kind of how it looks on the learner side. So when the learner uses that unique enrollment URL, they'll enroll and they'll see this paywall. And we've got a couple different options here, 2 options for payment. They can pay individually by themselves, or our other option is access codes. And this is where we have a lot of freedom to do a lot of different things. So access codes we can generate in bulk. So you can come to our website and purchase them in bulk to hand out to your students. Your bookstore can purchase them to resell to your students. Or if we're working through a grant funding, anything like that, we will generate those access codes in bulk so you can hand them out to your students. So there's some different options for what you can do with the Teach tools inside of the NDG Online portal and how it will kind of look to your students. I think that's all I've got. I'll go ahead and hand it back over to Rich or Brian.
One thing I'll mention is one of the things that I often get asked after we give access to the portal is do I still need my Netlab? And what I would argue is that's really a school business decision. I would say in some cases you may feel like you can get rid of your Netlab, especially if you're struggling. Like some schools, you just aren't given the resources you really need, and we know that. I mean, you know, if you're one of 3 people and you're engaging 150 students and you don't have a lot of time, you may find Netlab's heavy for you. But if you're engaging 10,000 students, you probably don't want to give up your Netlab if you look at the dollar outcomes and if you look at what you can do in grants. So I think it's an individual case by case, but we can host certain things for you. The other thing I'll share is though this is working, we can't handle all the students that can be thrown our way across the United States, depending across all the projects that want to be free. I'm sure that doesn't surprise you guys. Like Kelly and I, we have this vision that if we could build something that community colleges could use for any student on their campus to learn some of the basic hands-on things, and then we give them a little credential, and or we could help high schools, like you could articulate the content to your high schools. Well, we don't have enough compute resources to really bring that to bear. Like if we started aiming up all the high schools in North Carolina, we wouldn't have enough compute resources. So that's the big challenge. The big challenge is how do you economically sustain? Technically, we could pull this off all day long, but the problem is nobody wants to fund it. So that's why you got to kind of be careful before you just boat anchor your Netlab, do the math, you know. If you're paying $3,000 a year for that asset and you're serving a couple thousand students, you can give them a lot of free labs. In fact, we know a lot of schools are helping homeless kids, and that's one of our favorite outcome stories because they can just give them free labs. They don't have to charge them. You know, that's certain markets where that's a big deal. So that's my response to that. And then also I would encourage, look at grants. If you could convince your administration, or if you got grant writers and you want to expand this model, I'm sure Brian would work with you. Brian's worked with some of the administrative stuff. Kelly, I think you're looking at grants. I know Dr. Krashenko has already won 2 grants using some of this technology. He's running large workshops teaching high-end skills like high-speed networks. I think, Kelly, you alluded to that. He was using Sonar and some other intrusion detection and other tools in workshops. But hopefully this is helpful. And Brian, you may want to talk about your use in the classroom. I don't know what else you want to present, but you may have some other information.
There is a question real quick. Let me go ahead, and I'm looking in the chat, and it's Al DeGenero. It's asking, he's with the Governor School of Science and Math down in South Carolina. He said, how much is each class? Can we know up front? And I'd like to be able to purchase for my students with the intent of providing them with access codes. And so Al, I mentioned I put in the chat, I believe if you have instructor access for free on this portal, so you can go in and then see the cost of all the different things you would want to give them. So plus I'm sure there's a way that, there you can also, Spencer just put in a thing for price quotes, and you can also contact them directly. So.
And there's a lot of free assets out there too. Like the VMware assets are free. There's, depending on who you're engaging, I'm not sure I know your students and who you're engaging, but the Cloud Invert is a free course. And then we've added VCTA data center virtualization labs that are free to anybody. And I think we're using servers at Stanley and Idaho National Labs. So you got students that need free access to learn virtualization. There's free resources in this cloud for them. They're more than that. There's some Palo Alto things that are free. I think Spencer showed something that's like $10 that introduces basics of firewalls. We're trying hard to keep it low cost, but there are some things that are expensive. Like vSphere ICM, I think it's $60. It used to be like $85, but we're trying to get it even lower. But hopefully that helps. And guys, we'd love to get your feedback because this was a lot of work.
And I'll want to add a few things. If you haven't selected that link that Spencer shared, it does break it down. That's per student, and that is a 6-month access. Administration wise, if you have Netlabs, this is a ton easier to do this. And if you've already got Netlabs and you feel like you can maintain it, then I personally, and I know Kelly probably feels the same, I personally feel that we at Stanley, we're going to keep ours. It just gives us that extra layer of stability. Right now, we can't do any physical equipment. We can't do the Cisco pods, but down the road, funding wise, there's a lot of ways to expand this project to really go. In my honest opinion, I feel like we could help every state in the U.S. and every community college that wanted to do it. But the problem we're having, or I'm having, is one, finding the perfect grant to apply for. And I've been dependent on Jorge at USC to find the grants. I've found a few, but they just don't meet the criteria that we have, or we don't meet the criteria for the grant. What I would like to have is anybody that's on this call or comes back and watch this recording, if you have contacts with NSA that you can want to partner with Stanley and NDG and USC to expand this project, reach out to me for sure. Please reach out. I'd love to get the next grant rolling, get funding, get to Rich and his team so we can just make the portal project better and really to help us maintain it. There is a cost to maintaining the equipment at Stanley in our data center. So we have an annual cost that we know we have to somehow try to get back. Luckily, our administrators for now are helping us, and but moving forward after this grant ends, we're going to do our best to find the fund. Now, for me, the way I use NDG, the portal project, I've actually, and I'm gonna, after Kelly gets done, I use it through, I'm teaching CCNA Cyber Ops, Sec 160 is what I'm using it for. So I'll show you kind of how I have been using it. The students themselves, the students, this is our Canvas course, and I did the LTI integration like Spencer had said a while ago. The difference is once it's integrated, the first time the student logs in or selects the link to the module, once they provide the username and password and or the access code, then their credentials are linked from Canvas to the portal. So when a student gets ready to work on whatever lab it is, they'll just select this link. It'll open up in a new tab, and then it shows you the different labs that are available. So I'll select the first one, and literally it will boot it up. Now, if you've been a previous user of Netlabs, you know that you're having to send students to a secondary website. They have to log in with a different credential because the credentials don't change. They have to create their lab reservation. Then they manage when to end the reservation and things like that. This bypasses all of it. So for me, and the flexibility for my students, and me not having to worry about changing passwords now, it's there. This is phenomenal. I'm just telling y'all, this is absolutely amazing, and it's all there. So I would like to open up anybody that would like to kind of add on anything to this or ask any questions. Feel free to ask the questions you have. If you feel like I know I've talked to Harry and I've talked to others. I know Harry, I don't know the future plans that Tim had mentioned possibly partnering with us. But if you have anyone you know that, or any grants that you know would work for us to expand it, please talk to us, let us know. That's all
I
I
want to add
got.
something too, Brian. I want to jump in here. Rich made a very good point. Rich, unless I'm mistaken, you can now actually integrate your existing Netlab Plus system using LTI integration. So
Correct.
yeah, so if you own a standalone like we do, we own 5 of them, actually 4 of them, but you can actually use this LTI integration with your system on your campus. So that exactly what Brian just showed you, you can do, and it will then go to your local Netlab Plus system, and that system will work. David, in fact, says he's using it and it works great. So that LTI integration is there, so they don't have to go and do all the logins and things. And you still have your reporting on the back end, the real detailed reporting on your system. Yeah, and David talks about allows you to be able to share with other academies. Yep. So.
Yeah, that's the whole goal of Netlab, is those that maybe get a grant or get funding can share resources that other community colleges may not be able to get to. Yep. Or if you're a community college and you're trying to help your high schools, you can articulate to your high schools. That's our hope. And we recognize universities often get the big bang or budgets or big grants. We're trying to figure out a way we can help community colleges come along. And we've been really lucky that Dr. Krashenko has a background working with 2-year students that are financially struggling, because his heart's still in trying to help the 2-year student. And he came from northern New Mexico, so it's been a little easier getting him to help us with grants. But we'd love to get other universities to help, and we'd love your feedback too. What can we put in here that helps you be successful? What can we put into the academic cloud, assuming we can pursue grants and keep it healthy? What would you need in there?
And don't forget, once you're in here, you can go to the demo courses. And like right now, I'm spinning up a PAN 10 firewall to take a look at this. But under demo courses, you have the ability to go in here and look at those demos. So I'm actually opening that in a new tab, but in the demo here, you can look at all of these as an instructor. So you can actually look at the labs and see what works, what you think would work for your classes and what wouldn't. I know that Gonda Watson, our security instructor, program head, was just talking about these ethical hacking labs that he uses across multiple classes. So, don't be afraid to go in here and look at those demo items that are available, because, they're there, and it's something that's very, very useful.
And please go through the list if when you have time, and just look at everything that's available. And then if there's something that that needs to be added here that would be very beneficial for high schoolers or universities or community college students, let us know, and we'll try to work on it the best we can to get it included.
What I'll point out is CAE, we've heard from some universities that have Netlab that it really helped with their CAE programs, getting authorization for CAE, because they were able to show a lot of hands-on outcomes. For example, that forensics lab library, that's a good lab library. We've heard from people that work in forensics and industry that it's all open source. So you're not going to get things that are like you buy from industry, but they said they match what they do at work. So we're pretty happy with that. So I hope this will help you get authorization and grants, et cetera. That's kind of what our hope is.
We did have a question from Perry saying, did the PAN 10 make it so we could break up the final lab into sections like they used to in PAN 7? I have no clue.
I don't know either. I'd have to ask Tom Koslov on our team, Perry. I'm sorry.
I just popped up the PAN 10 capstone just to see what we've got here, but I don't know.
Yeah, the difference. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Perry, you could email support@netdevgroup.com and you could just say, hey, can you have the content person answer this for me? And they'll get back to you pretty timely.
Yep, sure enough. Any other questions about the project? Questions I have, I don't know. David is saying vSphere 6.7 soon to lose support. Do we have a time frame when NetLabs V will be ready to accommodate 7?
All right, well, we're being recorded. So the official answer is everyone should go to 7. The unofficial answer, which anybody listening to this recording, don't turn me in, get me in trouble, is that the 6.7, I believe we have the labs and we'll keep the labs out there for you. I think you can still get the content from the D2L and the Cavuto portals. They have 2 different portals. Their current relationship is D2L for Learning Management System. And I think you can still get that, but they would like for you to go ahead and go to the 7.0.
But I think he's actually referencing the back-end infrastructure, Rich.
Oh, I apologize. I thought you were talking about teaching with
back-end infrastructure. Yep.
Oh, my apology. Yeah, you can go to 7.0. The big change between 6.x and 7.x is you have to make sure you're running the right version of Netlab. So you need to look to make sure you're running one of the most current versions of Netlab, because you no longer have the same VMC connection to your virtual machines. So you have to implement a new tool that VMware has implemented, and it's very nice. I would recommend 7 if you can get there. Just make sure you're running one of the latest versions of the Netlab, and we can give you access to the release notes, and we have documentation on how to get there. But what's nice about it is you can, if you've got a really big monitor, you're going to be really happy with 7, because you can do like full screen as you grow out your VMs. So you'll be very happy with 7.0 as your infrastructure.
So the short answer is, David, it is supported. One thing you need to be very careful with, though, is many servers are not supported under 7. So
yeah,
absolutely sure.
Yeah, make sure whatever servers you're using are happy, because it is a little fussy about the chipsets. Yep. And I'll see if I can find you the release notes in Netlab for that.
All right.
I'll post it in chat.
Any other questions for Rich and Brian and Spencer? Folks, I think the big thing is this where we need to be going? Is this what you think's kind of the direction and how we sustain it? So I think that's what we need to, that's what Rich needs to know and what we need to know as we kind of move forward and go from there. All right, no questions? Rich and everyone, Brian, Spencer, thank you so much. Huge thank you for taking the time to be here today, and really appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen. And Rich, I think you put some emails into the support or into the chat. If you'll throw your email in there, so folks can email if they do have questions. Everyone, Do you have any, now we're at the Q&A part of the day. We've got 15 minutes set aside for it. I know most of you are ready to go home. It's getting late, but do you have any questions about anything we covered today, be it state of the states we talked about, the portal project, the billing project, the NCDPI Python project, any of those items? And remember, next week, we have another meeting on Tuesday. We're going to be going over CML. I believe, unless I'm mistaken, David, you will be discussing, let me get let me find my latest, goodness gracious, I can't find it. Give me 1 second, folks, and I'll find it. Brian, talk, say something while I'm finding the agendas.
Yeah, I put my email in the chat. I mean, most of you know me anyway, but feel free to reach out anytime.
Brian, I actually have lost some. This is the old one. I believe, David, you're actually presenting next week on, this is my old agenda. That's not the new one. But next week we will be discussing CML. We'll have a representative from Splunk here to discuss an announcement from Splunk. And then David is going to talk about custom NDG pods, custom Netlab pods, and how he's used some of those pods in his environment at his school. Constance says, when will we send out contracts for renewal? It will be sent after July 1. So typically our business group, Michael will be emailing you on after January 1st to ask you to sign the ASC contract. And then during the month of, there's 227 different invoices to go out. So our billing department rolls them out during the month of July. So sometime during the month of July, you will get an invoice sent to your school from our business department. And if you're saying it is, can we get it sent earlier? Send me an email and we will find out if we can't get it sent to you earlier, if you need it sent for some reason before July 1st for next year. My phone is ringing for some reason. Okay, so send me an email if you've got to have it before July 1st. We've had some schools that for whatever reason had to pay it before July 1, and we've been able to get our business group to invoice them. It's something we try not to do because there's so many, but if you need it, we'll see what we can to help you. Any other questions? Rich has put in here, by the way, that vSphere 7 support is available for any Netlab Plus version 20.5.0 or higher. So there's some release notes there. So 7 is supported on the back end of your systems. Just make sure all your devices support it. Last but not least, folks, there's 3 CCNA 1 slots left in the Summer of Free Learning out of 100. So we are down to 3 available. I've had several questions about, will I be able to do CCNA 2, CCNA 3? I don't know. I'm hoping to find some folks to step up and help with that project and see if we can't provide the ones that are getting CCNA 1 to continue on getting CCNA 2 and 3. We will see, but we'll, at the very least, we've got 3 slots left for anybody who wants CCNA 1. Any questions? Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I know it's a lot of time to put forward, but we do thank you for being here, and it's so much fun to have everybody here. I am going to stop sharing, and then I'm actually going to stop my recording.